I've made videos in the past going over installing Debian in various ways. Minimal installs, BTRFS with subvolumes, tiling window managers, and they've all been pretty well received, but the video that I've received the most requests about has got to be in response to the BTRFS videos. Hey Mike, can you install it with encrypted BTRFS subvolumes? BTRFS does not do encryption. So I hate to be the one to crush your dreams, but if something isn't supported out of the box, there's no way to ever make it work in any shape or form. I didn't think I was going to make it through that. All right, after that ridiculous statement, let's just jump in. The install process for encrypted BTRFS subvolumes in Debian and Devuan are exactly the same. I've done both like 10 times each at this point, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Both require expert installs, and both create one root subvolume called @rootfs. And they both require the same steps to get it done. So I'll be doing a minimal Devuan install with OpenRC, encrypted BTRFS subvolumes, and a tiling window manager. Because that's actually what I'm using right now, and what I've been using for nearly a year. But if you want to go a different route, I will show you where the exits are on this ride, and you can go a different way if you want to. So with all that said, let's give the people what they want. Let's add the virtual machine. All right, so I'm actually going to show the setup of this virtual machine. So I've got Virt Manager running right here. I'm going to go hit the plus button. I'm going to hit install local media, ISO image, or CD-ROM. Hit forward, and where it says no media selected, you can browse for your ISO, but I've installed it here recently, so drop down. Devuan Daedalus 5.0 preview, net install. I'm going to hit that, uncheck this box, and I'm going to give it the description for Debian testing. We're going to hit forward, and I'm going to give it, let's say 4 gigs, and let's give it 4 CPU cores. Why not? We're going to hit select or create your own custom storage. We're going to hit manage. We're going to go over here to my VMs directory and hit plus. I'm going to call this Devuan Daedalus BTRFS encrypted. And you know what? I'm going to give it a good bit of storage because I'm going to show some stuff here in a minute. Let's give it, let's say, 70 gigs, because why not? I've got the room. We'll hit finish. And if we scroll down, we'll see it highlighted here. Good to go. All right. Choose subvolume or choose the thing. Now we're going to hit forward. We're going to customize the configuration before install because I want this to boot on EFI. We're going to hit finish, and we're going to change our firmware from BIOS to UEFI, and then hit begin installation. All right, I'm going to change some stuff around, and I will meet you back here in just a second. All right, here we are in the Devuan install screen. This is going to be the same exact process as it would be on Debian. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to advanced options. We're going to choose expert install. We're going to choose language, English for me, United States, American US. I'm not going to load anything else. We're going to hit continue. All right, well, now we're going to configure the keyboard. American English is good for me. Detect and mount installation media. USB storage, installation media detected. Load installer components from installation media. I'm not going to load anything. We're just going to hit continue. Now we're going to detect network hardware. We're going to configure the network automatically. Our host name, I'm going to leave it as Dev1. That's fine. Our domain name, I'm going to leave blank. And we're going to set up users and passwords now. Enable shadow passwords. Sure. Login as root. No. Enter the full name for the new user. Mike. Now we're going to give Mike a password that is not Doctor Who related. Now we're going to configure the clock. We're going to use NTP. Yes. I'm in the central time zone. Now let's detect the disks. Now we're going to partition the disks. We're going to slide right down here to guided, use entire disk for encrypted LVM. Virtual disk for 75.2 gigabytes. That works. All files on one partition. That's what we want because we're going to create subvolumes. Write changes and configure LVM. Yes. Now, the installer is going to overwrite Virtual Disk 1 or VDA3 with random data. If you want a better encryption, let this finish. But if you're on a big hard drive or a large SSD, this is going to take forever. And the encryption will be a little bit better if you let it finish, but if you don't, it's going to be fine. So I'm going to hit cancel and just move on. Now our encryption passphrase, just make something up. A long passphrase is better. So I'm going to do this. Now you can rename your volume group if you want to. I'm just going to leave it as Devuan VG. That's fine. Now here you can actually provision your disk if you want to. You can type in max if you want to use all of it, or you can type in a percentage if you want to. This right here is if you want to make your volume group smaller. That way you can expand it later if you want to. This is more of an LVM thing than it is a ButterFS thing. But let's say I wanted to provision this down to, let's say, 64. That way I've got like 6 to 9 gigabytes or whatever later. Now we can hit finish partitioning and write changes to the disk, but that would really mess things up. So what we're going to do is go up here to extend 4 and change that to ButterFS. We're going to hit done setting up the partition. Now let's write changes to the disk. Now I didn't encrypt the swap partition because that's going to add a whole other layer of complexity to this. If you want to know more about encrypting your swap partition, I'm going to point you over to EFLinux on YouTube. He does an Arch install with encrypted swap, and much of that will translate over. Now, if you want more information as well about LVM and provisioning and all that for your drives, I'm going to point you over towards learnlinux.tv, where he has an entire series where he dives really, really deep into LVM, and he does an excellent job of explaining your options if you need to expand your volumes. But for me, I just wanted to put it at 64 gigs just to show you guys what it looks like. Now, at this point, we can install the base system, but it's only going to give us one subvolume. So what I'm going to do is send this a key combination. Now this has popped up a window right here, but y'all can't see it. What I'm sending it is Control-Alt-F2. And this has brought up a shell. So we actually have to hit enter and our BusyBox instance will start. Now the next thing we need to do once we get the shell up is run the df command. So df. Now make a note of what your mount points are. Now /run, /dev, and /cd-rom does not really matter. What we want is target, boot, and EFI. So your dev mapper, dev1 VG root is mounted at /target. VDA2 is at target boot, and VDA1 is at boot EFI. So now we need to unmount all of those things, starting with the deepest directory. So let's umount /target boot EFI. Now let's umount /target /boot. And finally umount /target, because we're actually going to mount our subvolumes back in here. So let's do mount /dev /mapper dev1 VG root to /mnt. And if we cd to mnt and run an ls, we see we have a root subvolume. And this is called @rootfs. Now, if you want time shift to work, I hate to break it to you, I've tried it a few times, renaming rootfs to time shift. I have not been able to get working with encrypted subvolumes, but my snapshotting script does work. So now what I want to do is create my other subvolumes. So let's do BTRFS subvolume create at home. BTRFS subvolume create at snapshots. Now the next thing we need to know is our subvolume IDs. So let's run this command, BTRFS subvolume list, and then put a period because it's in this directory. Our root is at 256, home is 257, and snapshots is 258. So now we need to mount all of these to target in the right places. So now I want to run mount and give it some and pass some options to it. I want to give it read write options, no A time for no access time. This will improve performance, and space cache space underscore cache equals v2. This is better than v1 because it's more performant and it's more efficient. I'm going to give it the SSD flag. This is going to pretty much just tell BTRFS that you're running an SSD, and it's going to automatically optimize for that. Now I'm going to do discard equals async. This is pretty much setting trim for your SSD. Another one is compress equals ZSTD:3. ZSTD3 is the compression method used that I'm going to be using here. And you can pass a number to it for the level of compression that you want it to attempt to do. So 1 through 15. The higher the number, the more it's going to try to compress, but the more CPU intensive it's going to be. Now, last but not least, we're going to do the subvol ID. Subvol ID equals 256. And that's dev mapper dev1 vg root, and we're going to put that on /target. Now we're going to make some directories. So let's mkdir/target/home and mkdir/target/.snapshots. And then we need to make mkdir-p/target/boot/EFI. So now let's just press the up arrow to get our past commands, and then let's just change our subvol IDs from 256 to 257, and then make that and at the end go from target to target/home, and do it again for 258. And now let's mount /dev/vda2 to /target/boot, and mount /dev/vda1 to /target/boot/EFI. So now we need to cd back and then cd into /target. If we run an ls-a, you'll see we have .snapshots, boot, etc, home, and media. Let's cd into etc and run an ls. Now we see we have a crypt tab and fs tab. I want to nano or edit fs tab. Dev mapper dev1 vg root. Now here's a pro tip. Let's just edit the one line here. Let's do read write, no A time, space underscore cache equals v2, SSD discard equals async, compress equals ZSTD:3, subvol ID equals 256. All right, now that we have our root done, we can actually delete this line. So let's do Control K and then Control U, Control U, Control U. That's going to save us some typing. So now let's do for home, and then change our subvol ID to 257. Now let's come back here and go to /.snapshots. and then scroll all the way over there to subvol ID equals 258. All right, and when you're happy with that, you can hit Control X, hit Y, and then enter. Now let's CD back, and now let's umount /mnt. Now we are officially ready to go back to the installer. So I'm going to pass it another keystroke for Control Alt F1. You can't see this menu, but it's essentially what I'm doing. Now we can just install the base system and finish the installation normally. So I'm going to hit enter here. And do you want /bin and sbin to be symlinks to user bin? Sure. Now we have a list of kernels we can use. I'm just going to do Linux image AMD64. It's the same one as the one above. And we're going to do generic. Now we're going to configure the package manager. We're not going to scan any extra installation media. We are going to use a network mirror. United States is good. devuan.org is good. We're not going to use a proxy. And we are going to use non-free software. We're going to enable source repositories and apt, because I am going to be building some stuff from source. Security updates, release updates, and backported software. This is a testing, so just security is fine. And when it turns red like that, it's a warning, but it's going to be fine. Just hit continue. Select and install software. I'm not going to do automatic updates because I'm going to update everything myself. I don't usually participate in the package survey because, well, it's a virtual machine, and I usually do when I'm on hardware. And here is one of those exits I was telling you about. You can install whatever desktop environment you want. Right now, I'm going to do just the TTY. So I'm going to deselect the Devuan desktop environment and XFCE. But if you wanted to install XFCE, feel free. Or Mate, Cinnamon, GNOME, KDE, LXDE, and LXQT. I've never installed GNOME Flashback. But with it being Flashback, I imagine it would be something similar to Mate or GNOME 2. You can install a web server, console productivity, SSH server, or just standard system utilities. I'm just going to do standard system utilities. Now we're going to select an init system. This is where it's wildly different than the Debian install, because Debian is going to give you systemd and not even a choice for this. So when we hit select an init system, we can choose the older sysvinit. We can choose OpenRC or run it. I'm a fan of OpenRC, so that's what I'm going to use. Now we're going to install the Grub bootloader. Force Grub installation to the EFI removable media path, sure. And then finish the installation. We're going to select yes for is the system clock set to UTC. All right, now we're going to hit continue to reboot the system. Now it's asking me for my unlock passphrase. All right, we are at the login screen, so now I'm just going to type in my username and my password. All right, and we are here. This font is ridiculously small, so let's do sudo dpkg-reconfigure console-setup UTF-8. Let's see, Latin 1, Latin 5 is fine. Let's go to Terminus, and then all the way down to the biggest one. We're going to clear the screen, and that looks much better. Now let's run sudo apt update just to make sure we're all good. And now let's install some software because I want to get Spectre WM on this pretty quick. So let's do sudo apt install get Neovim, and that's really about it I need for now. -yy. Because I have actually written a script that builds Spectre WM from source, and I can just download my .files and put them in places, and then there we go. Let's make a directory let's see, mkdir-p home /.local share, mkdir-p home/.local source and home/.local bin. So if we cd into .local share, and then I want to make another directory called ld, this is where I want to put all of my dot files and my Git repo stuff. So let's git clone https://gitlab.com/Linux dabbler /Debian install scripts. We're going to cd into Debian install scripts, run ls, and now I'm going to run some scripts. We're going to do // I want to have, let's see, I want to have Devour on the system. I want to have my fonts installed. I want the Fura Mono Nerd font. I want Git Spectre WM. I want the Groovebox GTK theme. I want the Inconsolata Nerd font. I want my build of ST. I want LF. I want Librewolf. I want Vim plug set up. And I want the Ubuntu nerd font. And then I also want to run sudo apt install Firefox -ESR, PCManFM, VIFM, and yeah, that should be about it. Oh, also xorg, xserver -xorg, and then -yy. But I believe in my git spectre wm.sh that that's already there. So now I'm just going to let this run. All right, that finished up. I'm just going to check around and make sure everything got put where it was supposed to. So I'm going to cd back home. Then let's cd into .local bin, run ls to see we have Devour, Spectre W, and ST. Then if we cd into source. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to install ZSH. So let's do sudo apt install ZSH, ZSH common, ZSH auto suggestions, and ZSH syntax highlighting. Now I want to run sudo chsh-s and then run a variable for which ZSH for mic. Now I want to get my dot files. So let's cd into .local share ld. Let's git clone https://gitlab.com/Linux dabbler /dot files. Now let's cd into dot files and run ls-a. I want to move .config to home. I want to, let's see, move .local bin everything to home/.local bin. I want to move .local share backgrounds to home/.local share. And then I want to move my .xnetrc to home. And I want to move my .zsh to home. Now I want to move root scripts. Let's say I'll sudo move root scripts everything to /user local bin, and that should be all I got to do. Sudo reboot. All right, put in my unencryption passphrase, and now log in. All right, I don't have Kitty installed, so it's sudo apt install Kitty. All right, mod q. Okay, I don't have Scrot installed. Sudo apt install Scrot. Qt browser takes a while to download, so let's just run VSP and then look for Qt browser and PIA client. All right, there's that. Now I need to fix my resolution. So let's right and quit this. Let's go to .config and then x11. I don't have exa installed either, so sudo apt install exa. So now let's nvim my X profile. Change this to xrender-s 1920 by 1080. All right, let's get out of that. Also sudo apt install x wallpaper, and now xwp. Okay, so cd.local share backgrounds. So now let's copy groovebox. Let's do forest 2 this time to home/.local share backgrounds current wallpaper.png, and now xwp. That works. Now let me log out, start X, and that looks much better. So now let me actually increase my bar font. I'm going to increase this to, like, let's say 16. Why not? And that looks a lot better. So now let's do xdg user ders update. Now run it. So there we go. That looks a lot better. So now let's do sudo apt install BTRFS progs. All right, let's clear that. And now let's do sudo BTRFS subvolume list from root. All right. So now if we cd into user local bin, you'll see we have snapctl, boot snapshot, and vmctl. So now let's just run sudo snapctl root. And now if we run the same command as before, you see we now have a 259 subvol ID snapshots. Oh, it's in snapshots. It's called root and it has the date. So let's clear the screen again and run sudo snapctl home. And then sudo BTRFS subvol list from root. And now we have a root and a home. So that's about all I wanted to show today. There's been several requests for installing Debian or Devuan or what have you with encrypted BTRFS subvolumes. And the best way to do that is to use LVM. And like I said earlier, LVM is a fairly complicated subject. So if you want some more information on LVM, I'm going to point you over to learnlinux.tv. He has an excellent video series on LVM where he explains so much more than I could. So if you're not subscribed to Jay over at learnlinux.tv, absolutely go check his channel out. How you would be watching my video and not subscribe to him, I don't know how that would happen. I really don't. But at any rate, thank y'all for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.